Hello again, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope your Christmas was blessed and filled with wonderful things, and the new year ahead will be even better than last year. Our gospel this morning is from the second chapter of Matthew. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star in the east and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him, and calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are by no means least among the rulers of Judea, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.'" When Herod secretly called for the Magi and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared, then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen in the east, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. In recalling a recent conversation I had, the gentleman I was speaking with said, "I didn't want to work until I was too old to live." He didn't elaborate or explain what he meant, but his words have stayed with me. I think it's one of those statements that say more than the words he spoke. My guess is that it's not really about his work, his job, what he did for a living. After all, life and work don't have to be mutually exclusive. People find life and meaning in their work, and work can be an important part of a fulfilling life. I think he was talking about more than just work. I wonder if what he said was more about his longing, desire, and searching for something. And I wonder if he was talking about his fear. The fear of missing out, losing a part of himself, and living less than fully alive. Admittedly, those are my interpretations, but I think the experiences of longing and fear are universal, something I've recognized in my life and I've seen in the lives of others. Oftentimes it's not one or the other, but both at the same time. We live between the two poles of longing and fear. Today's gospel tells us that is where Epiphany lies, amidst our longing and fear. Longing and fear are the bookends on Epiphany. At one end, we have the wise men from the east following the star. They left their own country, the familiar, the usual, the known, in search of and desiring something new and possibly unknown. They don't know where this journey will take them, only that they have to take it. It's as if a call has been set out on their lives, one that cannot be left unanswered. Who or what is calling is unknown. You see, there was no caller ID on Epiphany. At the other end is Herod, the bookend of fear. He is frightened, Matthew tells us, and all Jerusalem with him. He is threatened by the possibility of a new king. His power and identity are at risk of being lost. Maybe he fears an impoverished and diminished life. He calls others to himself, chiefs, priests, and scribes, but stays where he is, clinging to what is familiar and known. The wise men and Herod are responding to the same thing, the child and the birth of a new life. The wise men are open and giving themselves freely to something new. Herod is closed and wants the same old thing. The wise men travel and search. Herod hunkers down and shelters in place. The wise men follow their longing. Herod, on the other hand, wallows in his sorrow. Both, however, were about the child. Both were an epiphany. And with that, I think we tend to see this story as being an epiphany for the wise men only. But what if it's also an epiphany for Herod? I'm not talking about epiphany in the usual sense of having a flash of insight or sudden realization. I don't think that today's gospel is about that. I've come to believe that we don't have epiphanies. Epiphanies have us. Epiphanies are not so much those moments when we say, aha, I've got it. They are rather moments when we say, ah, it's got me. Or maybe even, oh no, it's got me. Sometimes that happens in our longing, and other times it happens in our fears. Both situations offer us something, and both are seeking a response from us. That's what epiphanies do. They give us a glimpse of ourselves, our life, our world, and then they call for a response. That response is what distinguishes the wise men from Herod. The difference is that the wise men observed and followed the star, opened their treasure chest, and went home by another road. Herod did not. But what if he had? What if Herod had observed and followed the star too? What if he had opened the treasure chest of his life, his heart? What if he had returned home by another road? How might his life have changed? And what if we too did the same thing? How might our lives change? When I look at my longings and fears, then others, and when others tell me about theirs, when I remember the words that man spoke to me, I'm convinced that both the wise men and Herod live within us, are a part of us. And I am equally convinced that wherever there is longing or fear, there is an epiphany waiting our response. So let me ask you about your longings and fears. What longing, searching, or desiring has gotten a hold on you? What is calling to you today? What is being asked of you in the name of God? What matters so much to you that when you ignore it, it eats at you deep down? What are you hoping for that sounds impossible to you? What fears have gotten a hold of you? What keeps you paralyzed and unable to move or leave the place where you are? Who or what situation creates waves of panic and anxiety in your gut? What do you fear losing? What is fear teaching you about yourself, your life, your relationships? What would you do if you weren't afraid, and how would your life be different? Whatever your answers are to those questions about your longings and fears, they describe an epiphany. They are a star in the sky of your life, waiting to be observed and followed. They are the treasure chest of your life, waiting to be opened. They are a child of new life, waiting to be held. And in all that, something is being revealed to you and something is being asked of you. It might be love, forgiveness, healing, hope, gratitude, courage, beauty, compassion, gentleness with yourself or another, mercy, new life, truth-telling, wisdom. Aren't those the very qualities and values of the child whose life the wise men and Herod seek? Are they not at the heart of our deepest longing and on the other side of our worst fear? They reveal for us Emmanuel, God with us. That's the epiphany that is always before us, calling and waiting for a response. What will you do with the epiphany before you today? How will you respond? My hope for you and for me is that today we will go home by another road. And all God's blessed people say, Amen.